Alright, we're live. Hey, JJ's, how are you, man? Alright, so the title of the stream said something about unboxing. We're not unboxing anything today. I changed that. I forgot to change it before we went live. So if you're watching this with the red dots in the title, we are live. Otherwise, it is not live. Alright, let's do some shout-outs here. Let me move my mouse. Got Surferby, welcome. Ryan, how you doing? Quentin? Quentin! Jamal, how you doing, man? We've got... I don't know how to pronounce that. Deleuze, is it? Is that how you pronounce that? We've got... Oh, it's scrolling. It is scrolling already. Hang on, let me pop the chat out. I should always do that before I start. I always forget. Alright. We've got... Vintage Ale, welcome. Paul, how you doing? Amanda, how you going? We've got Crescendo 33, Ryan, John, Ross... Rokasmiran from Costa Rica, welcome. Marty from Minnesota, so I really feel sorry for anyone who's living in the cold right now. The opposite part of the hemisphere. It looks pretty brutal. Let me just get this stupid thing out of the way. Did I make that worse? Alright, we're trying a different mic today. That looks way worse now. Hang on. Let me move this. How did that get in shot? It wasn't in shot before. Anyway, all good. So we're trying out some new profiles today. I'm going to play... I borrowed my friend's SuperSonic 60 head from Fender. We had it going through the Marshall 2x12 and I made some profiles. So that's what you're listening to just before. Tone, man, that amp rocks. It's so cool. I'm too OCD, man. This mic stand's got to go. Hang on. Let me fix this. I hate having stuff like that in shot. That's why I usually use the wireless pack. Sorry about the noise. I know it's going to be a little bit loud there. Alright, we should be good right about now. Alright, there we go. Sorry about all the mic noise. Just grabbed my guitar, perfect timing. That's from Ryan. Welcome, mate. We've got Marty from Minnesota, Guitar OCD. I'm enjoying the whammy bar. Yeah, I do enjoy it, actually. It's pretty cool. Thanks for the shout out last week. Now I need to shoot a new video. Hope you're well. Hey, no worries, man. I still need to check your channel out, mate. I was meaning to do that last week. Alright, we've got... Terry, welcome, mate. How you doing? Calling for minus 33 Celsius. Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Peavey Ninja, welcome. Janice, how you doing? Down to 6 here in Connecticut. So we've had like ridiculously hot days here. Today's not so bad, thankfully. It's still shorts weather, but we had a day that was 44, I think, degrees Celsius or something like that last week, which is about 112. It yeah, we don't get a lot of that, thankfully. It usually sits around 30-ish during summer, and then it cools down a bit, and then it warms up again. But yeah, you know, around 90 F or Fahrenheit is where we get most of our summer days. It's pretty nice. I can get well into the 40s though, which is crazy hot. Alright. I like the new posters. Thanks, Matty. Appreciate that, mate. So that's the burn channel on the SuperSonic. hopefully the audio is all good. If there's any problems with the voice or the guitar clipping or anything, just let us know. Trying something different. And every time I try something different, usually something goes wrong, but we'll see how we go. So I was a bit late setting up. I couldn't find one of the connections for my wireless pack. I was like, I'm gonna have to use something else. It's so cold in Kentucky, the cops stopped telling Quentin James to stop filming them. What? I must have missed a ridiculously cold here in Boston. Yeah, I bet. I was there in November a few years back, and this is going back a little while now, probably 4 years ago. And I remember how cold it was then, and it just started snowing, and it's nothing compared to how cold it gets. Channel are amazing, man. Huge fan here. You're an amazing player. Thanks, mate. I don't know about that, but I appreciate the kind words. How are all your strap blocks going? Alright, so I got a video coming up on that pretty soon. I think in the next few days. So for those who don't know, I ended up getting those XTR strap blocks. They're like Jim Dunlop what are they called? Jim Dunlop copies. That's what I'm trying to say. Jeez. You know what I need? I haven't had any caffeine. Let's crack open one of these things. Yeah, I put all the XTR strap locks on, and a few of them broke, so I ended up taking those off. I ended up going back to those little plastic things that just sort of, you put them on and then you turn that little section of it, but sometimes those are a little bit dodgy, so I ended up getting something else, and I've completely redone all of my guitars, and it's ridiculously inexpensive. So if you're looking for good strap locks, the video will be up soon. It should probably surprise a few people. Jim Dunlop. Thanks, Terry. Supersonic drive tone. It's something else. Hey Lando, welcome mate. I bought a bunch of Fender strap blocks. Man, that's what happens when I don't have any caffeine. The brain works well not. Alright, let me just move this out of the way here. So welcome everybody. If you've got any questions or whatever, feel free to ask too. This is just a bit of a live hangout jam. I don't know if the title's fixed now, but it should just say live show. It looks like we are good. There's no unboxings. At least none that I have planned. Alright. So we've got a few guitars behind me as well. We'll switch it up as we go. I have two guitars set up with shallow strap locks and they've been great. Yeah, shallow strap locks are pretty good. They're not perfect. I have, when all the drama went down with my strap locks, I did have a few people send me pictures of those as well, and they said they had the same problem, but I think, like it took years for that to happen. It wasn't just something that happened within, a month. So, yeah. I need to add a space between the second red dot and the title. Oh, okay. Someone's OCD. Let's do it. Oh, I'll do it later. Just to mess with everybody. Alright, here we go. Looking for a Marshall SV20C. I'm pretty much done with gear. Like, in terms of amps and stuff, I don't really need anything else, you know, like, I'm happy with what I've got. In terms of the Marshall and the Fender amp, they're the two that I'm using the most. And it's funny, I almost feel like I want to start downsizing all my stuff. I really want to clear out a lot of the things I'm not using pretty soon. So just go back to having like the amps I use live, and maybe like a couple of practice amps or something, and then that'll be about it. I'm gonna probably flip a lot of stuff coming up pretty soon, and just clear out, yeah, just clear out all the stuff. So for me, I don't think I'll be buying any more amps. At least I don't see anything in my foreseeable future that I'd really want. The only one amp I'd like to try again is a Vox AC 30 with a single 12-inch speaker. I think it's called the S1. That's really cool. But yeah, look, I'm pretty much good. Thing with the Vox is I love the Vox sound for a little while, and then I go back to the 6L6 sound on the most part. The funny thing is, like, you know, I was lucky enough to get that. They let me keep the artist amp, right? The little 20-watt tweed thing. So I'm pretty much sorted. I got too many amps right now, so I'll end up flipping a couple. Probably the Mustang and maybe the Peavey Studio Pro. They're the two that I'm thinking will go first. Just got a G&L ASAT Classic. I freaking love it. G&L underrated guitars. You would love it. Shane, it's lefty. Thanks, Greg. I've actually owned one, man. I had a blue American-made G&L Tele for a while. I didn't bond with it too much, but I gotta say, like, the finish on the neck was the best. It was easily the best finish on any neck I've ever seen. It was beautiful, and I bought it for about $900 in Florida, and it was secondhand, right? So I don't know if I got that for a deal or not. Came with a nice hard case and all that kind of stuff. I ended up selling it here for 600 Australian dollars. No one wants them here. It's a real shame. They're really nice guitars. I totally agree. It's funny though, like, the thing that I didn't like about mine, and it's not like this across the board, is some of them feel funny when you play them. Like, I know where my reference point is, say, for an open E. But when I do it on the G&L, I'd be sort of like here. But my muscle would, you know, my actual muscle memory would be in the right place, but I'd be on the wrong fret. So I had to reach further this way to do an E. So that was kind of weird. And I couldn't get used to that fact. I played other G&Ls since then, and they didn't have that. So I don't know. Maybe I bought one with a weird scale length or something. I don't know. But they are beautiful guitars. There's some live footage of me playing in San Francisco with one, actually. 1 year. So you can, if you go back far enough, probably, I don't know, 2009, 10, somewhere around there. Is it 9 or 10? It was somewhere around then anyway. Oh, maybe later, actually. It might have been 2012, actually. Yeah, there's some footage of me playing with a couple of bands in San Fran, and with that guitar, with a, I can't remember what amp I was using. It might have been a Peavey Delta Blues. Matty K says, speaking of Leo Fender, did anyone see the Gibson NAMM lineup? That's awesome. You know what? I watched maybe 2 videos of NAMM. I just couldn't get into it. I guess because it's different for me now. Like, I'm around gear so much. The last thing I want to do is watch gear video after gear video and walkthrough video after walkthrough video. I'll see all the stuff in time, and that's all that really matters. I don't like to try to be kept up with every new thing that's coming out. It doesn't really interest me. It's not that dissimilar to the year before usually either. So Joey says, am I still using the Bandit? Not a lot. Yeah, honestly, not a lot. I haven't been using it a whole lot. I use it more still than the Studio Pro 112, and that's why I think that amp's going to go. I did try putting the Texas heat speaker in the Studio Pro, but I still prefer the Bandit. So the Bandit will probably stay, the Marshall and the Fender, and I'll keep this little Tweed amp here, but I think most of the other amps, at least in terms of the larger ones, will be on their way out pretty soon. Anyone here knows what all EQs set at noon on an amp means? Yeah, so that means 12 o'clock. So, you know, straight up in the center, like an old school clock face. So when someone says 1 o'clock, just move it one more to clockwise, basically. It says, has to be my buddies at NAMM to watch the videos, Ben and the crew. Cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. Just one of those things. I'll get there one day and check it out, but I needed, like, I just can't sit through. Anytime I'm usually on YouTube, I'll be watching a lot of other stuff. I don't watch a lot of gear things these days. I watch a few. I usually prefer discussions over just gear. Or I'll just watch something completely different, and that's just how I am at the moment. I go through phases with it where I'm like right into it, and then other times I'm, you know, it also depends on how much I'm filming at the time too. If I'm doing a lot of gear stuff, last thing I'm going to do is watch more stuff. Without the Tone King interviews, NAMM videos weren't that good. That's from Hutch. Howdy, man. Yeah, he's the best at those interviews, no doubt about it. I reckon he lets the people talk and he asks good questions, you know. He goes prepared, which is good. Listen to that, and then you turn up a bit. Terry says watches the cheats for ghouls and ghosts. Yeah, no, I beat that game again the other day, so I'm getting better at it. I can almost do it now without having to continue. I might do a live stream on this channel at some point just to mess with everybody. I'm subscribed to many channels. I have no hope watching everything that they put out. Yeah, that's the other thing too. There's so many people doing NAMM videos this year. There's so many people making videos on YouTube. It really is probably harder to sort of see it all. You know, you've got to almost, like, there's guys that make very generic videos all of the time, and that's how they grow so fast. Is they don't really they make just broad topic videos that do well, and those guys tend to grow fast and also stand out. Yeah, just because everyone that plays guitar will be somewhat interested in those topics. And it's a smart way to go too, but I just still, you know, I'll do whatever. If you ever decide to go to Winter NAMM, got a place to stay? Thanks, Jamal. Cheers, man. That'd be cool. We've got to hang out one day, mate. I reckon that'd be awesome. Actually, I got a message from Jerry earlier. I got to email him back. It was while I was up the street just before, and he was asking if I wanted to come up again this year and do some stuff, and I thought, might be a good opportunity. Escape winter here, which will be great. And if I time it around Winter NAMM, that might be kind of fun. I'll do one video. Guitar Search Saturday, done. I still use the 1 watt Wangs amp? No, I borrowed that actually. That was on loan from Little Crow Guitars. I sent that out and I sent that back. I do have one of their 5 watt ones, but they kind of screwed me over, so I sort of put a hold on doing those videos. I've actually got it over here. I heard one of them. Anyway, yeah, I'll go into that on the video if I do shoot it. But no, that wasn't mine. How bad is winter there? It's not so bad, man. It gets down to like a couple of degrees above freezing. So you know, gets down to about 3 degrees Celsius overnight. 0 is obviously the freezing point, so it's not too bad. We don't get the Canadian winter, thank God. I don't know how like Canada looks beautiful, and I've been there before, and it is beautiful, but I couldn't handle it, man. I'm too much of a wuss when it comes to just living in like minus 40. I don't know how people do it, man. Out of tune. I did follow a couple of the guys on Instagram about NAMM. That was about it. It was good seeing some photos of people like hanging out with other people, and Guitargate. I followed his stuff on, and Mike Bradley. They were the two that I sort of kept an eye on, and Steve from Boston as well. But yeah, I didn't really get too into it this year. Like I said, I think it's just gear overload. You know, once you hear that someone's re-releasing something they've released a million times, it's like, well, is this new or is this just the same? So, I don't know. Sponsored by Rockstar. Yeah, I wish. Something's out of tune. What is it? It's my E. Came really prepared. I was running late. I didn't tune anything. Just grabbed this straight out of the gig bag, which I played it on Sunday. And yeah, that was it. Intimidator, thanks mate, I appreciate that. Cheers. When you live in minus 40, you grow a beard. That's from Surferby. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And also, beanie, beard. And 12 or 13 flannelette shirts just to, you know, to go with the whole, you know, sort of brutally cold vibe. Yeah, I'm using a Kemper. Sorry, I don't know who asked what I'm using here. I missed that. So I'm using a Kemper. This particular profile is a SuperSonic 60. I made this the other day using the amp, my Rode M3 microphone, and the Marshall 2x12 cab down here, which is loaded with a couple of Celestion, what are they called? 7080s. So I added some delay, which is some sort of analog tape delay, and there's reverb on there as well. It's funny, you know, when I profiled this and I played it through the speakers, I was like, man, that sounds the same. It was great, just like exactly how I would want it recorded. That's the burn channel with a, not too, well, one of the gains is up, but the second gain is kind of down. So it sounds great. Hey, Metalhead Hippie, how are you, man? Do I play bass? I do. I've got a bass, actually. It's a Ibanez Sound Gear. So all the bass playing on the intro clips on my videos is me. So I just noodle around on bass. I play it live a bit as well. Sometimes I just jump up on a set and play like bluesy stuff on the bass. I enjoy that. I'm not a great bass player, but I think I learnt a lot of the standard runs for like blues bass guitar, and I can pretty much get around most of that stuff now in terms of all the patterns. Just put on Albert King records or something and you'll get all those feels, you know. What's your current thoughts on the Tech 21 Trademark 60? Would you still gig one? Look, they're great sounding amps, but they're just not loud enough, right? That's the one problem I had. In some rooms they're okay, but for a 60 watt amp, they're nowhere near as loud as the Peavey Bandit. I remember doing an outdoor gig on the back of a truck, right? It sounds kind of weird, but it was a setup stage. It was just a big truck thing. And I couldn't hear it. And I was right in front of it. I think it was just a weird acoustics thing in there, but we weren't mic'd up either, which was odd, but I remember just thinking, this isn't loud enough. And there was a couple of other times in rooms I had to have it cranked. I think tone-wise, they're fantastic. They're light. They're solid state. They're one of the best solid state amps out there. They're just not loud enough for really loud gigs. And you would think a 2x12, that's the one that I had. I think they probably also make a single 12 in the 60, but it just isn't loud enough. I don't know why. It should be way louder than what it was. It almost felt to me like a 30 watt amp. Look, at home they're going to sound loud, but when you get it out into the mix, that's the test, right? When you play it live. But if you're just jamming around at home, they're great amps. There's no doubt about it. Or if you're doing small gigs, I'd probably take one of those over a lot of other smaller amps. Even though it's got two 12s, I wouldn't consider that a loud amplifier. And I was talking to my friend Brian about this the other day. We used to all play deluxe reverbs and Blues Juniors and Vox AC15s, and now we're all playing like Marshall 40 watt amps and SuperSonic 60s, and you know, Ric's kind of gone backwards. He bought a couple of big amps and now he's playing like a 15 watt amp and he's not loud enough anymore. So it's good, you know, like playing smaller amps is good. There's the rooms that we're playing in, you can't get away with a 15 watt amp. They're just never loud enough. So yeah, I think our ears have started to sort of bump up to the next deafness band or something. But yeah, I would say the Peavey Bandit's probably a louder amp than the Trademark 60. I don't know if it's a better amp, but for me it is, just because I can get the volume out of it that I like. Trademark 60 definitely has way better tones. Or not way better, I should say more versatile tones. You can get anything out of it. But yeah, it doesn't have that 3D attack that the Bandit has, and that's what I didn't realize. I mean, yeah, it's all subjective. You might love it, and that's fine, but in a live mix, I'm not sold on it. All right, watching from Brazil, that's from Fabio. Welcome, Fabio. Matty K says, plus anytime I get to see Greg Koch, I'm in. That dude is hilarious. Guitar god simultaneously. Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I've met him before. Man, he's so tall. He's so tall. I don't think people realize how big he is. He's like 6'8", 6'9" or something. The dude is huge, man. I remember, like, I saw him, I was like, far out, you're tall. And I was like, man, I was shocked at how big he is. Man, I'm not a tall guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's massive. He's a massive dude. Lovely guy too. Like, yeah, just monster player. Greg's Gristle Master looks like a cool guitar. For another basic tally, yeah. Any experience with the Peavey Classic Chorus? No, I don't think I've tried one of those before. 125 bucks sounds pretty good though. How many watts is it? Just let us know in the comments, and how many channels does it have if you know. I don't know that one off the top of my head. There's a lot of amps that Peavey released that have the black and that sort of blue stripe, sort of teal stripe thing around it. There's a lot of different ones in that range, so they're all pretty solid amps. If you're using pedals, you'll get a good tone out of it on the most part. My sort of rule with the Peavey stuff is if it's 60 watts or up, you can gig with it. unless it's a Studio Pro. If it's bigger than that, you should be fine for most big rooms. I'm about 5'8", 5 something like that, I guess. So Greg Koch, like, he's huge. I got to meet a lot of NBA players years ago, and they came out here. I met Moses Malone and, you know, all those dudes, and James Worthy and a few of these dudes, and they were like ridiculously big guys, right? And man, Greg Koch, he's up there. He's not quite as big as those dudes, but he's a huge guy. Have I ever played any Bad Cat amps, and what did I think? I haven't played them personally, you know, like my friend Dom's got a few of their amps. They sound alright. They're a different sort of tone. You just sort of crank them up and let them distort. That's how you get the best sound out of those amps. At least in the ones that he's got. Yeah, I haven't really played a lot of them personally, sorry. I'm in the process of also locking in another day for the next live jam. So we've got a couple of different dudes on board for that, which will be fun. I just need to make sure it's all everybody's free. Because if we don't get someone, it kind of sucks. And we'll try and mix up the gear on the next one as well. I reckon the next one might be even better. We'll see how we go. 80 watts 2x12. Okay, yeah, well that's going to be plenty loud. An 80 watt 2x12 Peavey is brutal. Here's a question for everybody that's watching. Was there anything that you saw on the NAMM stuff that you are dying to buy? Let us know if you saw something that, you know, really blew your mind or whatever. Someone just mentioned, where is it? Someone mentioned something about a gold top. Where's my? Oh, here we go. John, I buy a Gibson 2018 gold top. My guitar search has ended that day. I think it's supposed to. Yeah, cool. Actually doing a trio gig coming up, and that sort of practice is good. Obviously backing track or a drum track would be handy, but a good way to practice your timing and rhythm and mixing your lead stuff in is to play a riff and then try to play lead but come back to the riff and keep track of where you are. It's harder than it sort of looks, or sounds maybe, but it's a really good way of getting some, you know, filling it out without just having a solo all the time. Doing a mix of the rhythm and the actual lead stuff at the same time. So in a trio situation, which I haven't done for a long time, I'm almost keen to record it just to see if it's going to work like it used to, or whether it's going to be a train wreck. So we'll see. I might actually set up my little 8-track recorder or something like that and bring it down to the gig. So the GE300, I haven't seen that particular model. I did hear that it was coming out. I did a review of the 200 a while back, and that thing's great. You know, you can plug in speaker IRs, third-party IRs, all that kind of stuff. It's a really great unit. Just works great into the PA system. You know, you can use it as an effects pedal. You can change the order of everything and make presets and stuff. It's really like a inexpensive sort of Helix, or even like a Kemper to some extent. Not to the same kind of quality as the Kemper, but you got to remember that like, the price is completely different. But it can do similar things, which is pretty cool. I'll have to check out the 300. I'd like to know more about that, actually. That's something I'll definitely check out. Dave Friedman made a 20-watt head that's half the price of his mainstream amps. Oh, okay. Sounds amazing too. Rick says he grabbed a Peavey XXL trans tube to 1200 watts. Wow, that'd be a monster. Let's change guitars here. Oh, the GE300 has tone capture, kind of like the Kemper. That's great. That sounds really cool. Well, there you go. Go the Strat. It's been a while. Actually, I was playing this last night. Kind of going back to the Strat a bit lately. It's been good. Sounds pretty cool. I'm loving it so far. It's my Red Stripe Bandit with Mooer. Well, there you go. That's great. I need to look. I've heard some of those amps, those older amps in person. I heard the Peavey Renown in person. Far out, man. That's a paint peeler of an amp. That is so loud and it sounds cool. Great pedal platform, 212. I don't know exactly how many watts it is. I'm thinking it's either 100 or 200. It's pretty loud. So, Trash Metal and Fun Riff says, help me out. You captured the tone yesterday from a live mic'd amp and we're hearing it recreated through the interface. Well, yeah, exactly. So, the way the Kemper works, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, is like you use the unit to basically capture whatever you put in front of it or whatever's in the signal chain. So, if you've got an SM57 or you've got a Sennheiser or you're using a Rode M3, all of these things, including your mic placement, will change the way that the end result will sound. The speaker will make a difference. Everything will make a difference. So that's the cool thing about the Kemper. It's capturing like what you put in front of it, and it's your own gear. So the concept is pretty cool. Like if you're tracking your album and you've got your amp cranked and you find the sweet spot with your mic, it runs this sweep of frequencies and pulses and all that kind of stuff, and then that's the sound that you've got. And then you can use all the onboard effects on the Kemper if you so choose, or you can run a clean channel on an amp, say like a Fender or whatever amp you got, doesn't really matter, the Peavey, and then also run like overdrives, your favorite overdrives or distortion pedals into it and capture that as well. So there's a lot of possibilities with that. And that's what sort of separates it from like modeling technology. It's not really like modeling or copying. You know, you don't have like a Fender preset and all that. It doesn't do any of that. It literally captures what you put in front of it with the gear that you're using. And, you know, if you've got two amps that are identical with different mic placement, you capture that, it's going to sound a little bit different as well. So all of these things, you've got your sound. I haven't seen anything that does it as well as that. It's just really good. I think a lot of people think it's like a straight up modeling amp or whatever, but it isn't like that at all. Guitar and Comics says, "Hey Shane, I really need to try a Kemper. Unfortunately, it's impossible for me to try one before I buy it. I've been gigging with the Helix for a couple of years and have no complaints." Well, there's probably no real reason to buy a Kemper over the Helix. I don't see the Kemper as a really functional live unit. It's more of a studio tool. I think it's slightly better as a studio tool than the Helix, but I think the Helix is a better tool for playing live because you don't need to buy a $1,400 foot switch to use with it. So if you're a gigging muso, you play live, the Helix is great. You know, Ric's got one as well, and I've played it live through the PA system, and it feels great. It really does. The difference is, in the studio, like Ric and I both felt like this when we've used both. The Kemper feels better to play. It kind of sounds a little bit more like the amp recorded. It's not replicating the amp sound in the room, right? And that's where a lot of people think that the Kemper does that. It's sort of like the mic'd up sound. What you're hearing is how it would sound if I was tracking it with a mic. It's not the amp sound, you know, with a, say, you standing in a room. It's not that sort of sound. You're hearing a very specific, you know, mic placement, microphone type, and that's the sound you're getting. So it's a little bit different like that. They're both good. They're both, I would say for the gigging musician, you're probably better with a Helix because you don't need to go out and buy like a $1,400 foot switch. It's just a lot of money. The Kemper's great at what it does. There's probably, I don't know, they're both, they're not that hard to sort of work. Both of them aren't that, they're about as hard to work out as each other. I think the profiling stuff can get confusing if you haven't done it before. But they're all good tools to use, you know. I don't think you can go too much wrong with either. I do want to borrow Ric's at some point as well, so maybe I'll get him, or I'll go to his place or something. We can take them both and we'll do some sort of comparisons between them. They've both got their strengths. Hi from Belgium. I'm supposed to be asleep now. This is from G. Juby. I really dig your channel. I have a question. What's the best reverb pedal for a Vox NT15 head? Oh man, there's so many good reverb pedals out there. It depends on your budget as well. If you want to get something that's inexpensive, I actually reviewed like a Donna reverb pedal. It's a black one. I reckon that thing's great, right? I think that's pretty much got the right type of sound for running through the effects loop. That would be high on my list for like inexpensive ones. In terms of more expensive, you know, you could find something like the Boss Fender FRV1, which I used to own, but now they're like a bit of a collector's item because they're not making them anymore. But if you can find one of those, pick one of those up. They're really solid reverb. I kind of find like the digital reverbs are basically better than a lot of anything else I've tried. Actually, there's one I'm going to be getting in soon that looks pretty unique, and I don't think I've seen anything like it. I don't think I'm supposed to give it away just yet, but it looks really cool. But in terms of what's already out, you know, T-Rex make a really cool reverb as well. I think it's called the Roommate. There's plenty good reverb pedals out there. You just want to try and find one that is quiet. That's the trick. You don't want to plug it in here or buzz or anything. So my suggestion would be, if you want to go nuts, you could get some of the Strymon stuff too. But you know, this is the funny thing about the guitar industry. Strymon, everyone hates digital until Strymon makes something. Hey, Matty, thanks, man. Have to run. Thanks for everything. Hey, you typed Sean, not Shane. No, I know what you mean. And everyone soon. Cheers. Don't forget to support your favorite streamer. Thanks, Matty. I appreciate that, mate. Thanks again. And have a good evening. catch you on the next one. Oh, by the way, guys, I think this Sunday, Rick and I are going to do like a hangout. So there'll be him and I just taking questions. Won't be any playing or anything, just having a chat. And if anyone's free on Sunday, it'd be around the same time. I think we'll probably be jumping on, all being well. I'm going to try and schedule that up once I lock it in. Jim says, hey Shane, if you can keep just one amp and one guitar that you already own, what would they be? You know, I go back and forth between the Fender and the Marshall. I've used the Fender Live a couple of times recently and I loved it. So, but every time I plug into the Marshall, it's got just that little bit more attitude, you know. So it depends on my day, but it would be either the Fender or the Marshall. I would definitely, yeah, it depends on my mood. As of my mood right now, I'd probably take the Fender. Ask me tomorrow, I'd probably take the Marshall. In terms of what one guitar I'd keep, it'd be that, the 52 Tele. Did I post a video with a big red monster? I did. I've posted 2 of those now. It cracked me up, man. So there's this, I think Japanese, crazy Japanese, I don't even know what it is. It's this like live show. And it's this dude, basically just type into YouTube, overqualified for the job. And that video is the best. I found another one last night. It's some drummer dressed up in this big red weird suit. And he's just like, playing drums like he starts off kind of normal, and the dude's got some of the best chops ever, but he's like overplaying on purpose, and it's hilarious. Like I was crying in laughter when I first saw that first one. The one that I posted last night wasn't as good as the original one, so just type in overqualified for the job. It's really funny. Hey, no worries, Matty. It's all good, man. I get that a lot. I think a lot of people think it's like the same, like Shane and Sean, spelling's the same. I don't know. Or maybe it sounds like I say Sean. It's all good, man. I appreciate your support. No stress. Oh, I missed something here. Let me go back up. Where was it? Thanks for your reply. I don't like the analog reverbs either. Cool. Yeah, I think the digital reverbs are just the way to go. You know, like anyone who... It's funny because I was having this conversation with my friend Brian as well the other night. We were talking about the reverb in this and one of his amps that has the digital reverb. And he just basically said, anyone who thinks they can hear a difference are just crazy. Like, it's gotten to a point where the digital reverbs are the best. You know, like, they just work. Even in amps. Hey Alex, how are you, man? He says, I use the T-Rex Tube Roommate as well. They're good pedals. Yeah, my friend Brian's got one of those. It's kind of like one of his go-tos. It's not in my upload, so it's on my feed. So if you go to just like my channel feed, youtube.com/INTHEBLUES and click community, I think it's on that tab. Yeah, I didn't upload it. It was some other video. It's had millions of views. I picked up a Lefty Squier contemporary Strat like the one you reviewed. Nice little guitar. Thanks for the review. Hey, no worries. They make good stuff, man. The contemporary series stuff's nice. Play a PodXT with headphones, it's all I need. Well, that's what it comes down to, man. It's all what you require. You know, like, you don't really need to just buy stuff for the sake of it. I reckon that's the worst possible thing you could be doing. And that's, you know, I'm in a weird sort of an unusual position where stuff turns up and I'm allowed to keep a lot of it. You know, I don't keep everything that gets sent out here, but, you know, and it's gear overload for me. Before I was really in this position, I didn't really have a lot of... Oh, well, there were times where I did have a lot of amps, but I'd always cull it back to the stuff I was just using. And I think, you know, if you're a gigging muso, you don't really need lots and lots of stuff. You know, I really don't think that's the case. A couple of amps for different rooms, for different sounds, and then a few different guitars. You know, you don't really need to go nuts. And just to buy stuff for the sake of it isn't a smart move either. It's a real easy trap. I mean, I've been there. I've bought way too much stuff over the years. I probably purchased like 35 amps. You know, no joke. I did a list of them about 8 years ago, and I was like, oh man, this isn't good. But over the last few years, I really haven't bought that many amps that were like brand new. I bought the Peavey Studio Pro. I got a really great deal on that. It was like 110 bucks, 150 bucks or something, with a microphone and this mic stand I'm using and a whole lot of other stuff. And then the Marshall was the last big amp that I bought. That said, I did buy the speaker box, but that serves its own purpose for the, you know, for the amp heads that I test and review as well. So there was it's not probably something I'm going to gig with at any particular point in time. It would be overkill. The Marshall on its own is so loud that I don't necessarily need to be hooking it up to a 2x12. But yeah. So just use what you need, and if what you've got's enough, then that's what it comes down to. And I think it's just don't lose track of the playing. So many people are into the whole gear thing, and you know, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. But it doesn't matter. In the end, it's all about how well you play and pulling your sound out of anything. That's why I think a lot of dirt pedals now are almost inconsequential to how you're going to sound. You know, last Sunday, and I've got a video coming up about this, so I'll give you the quick synopsis of it. My friend Brian, I lent him like an all-in-one pedal. He'd never used it before. He sounded exactly the same as how he'd sound with any one of his 3 pedal boards. It makes no difference. I was using 2 pedals I've never played live and never used together, and it sounded exactly the same because I know the sound I'm looking for. So it's real easy to sometimes think the next piece of gear is going to change your sound when it won't. It's all in the hands, it's in your head, it's in here, and it's about finding that, you know, and that's the trick. Buying gear is like a disease sometimes. Absolutely, Ed, I've been there, man. There was, you know, go back a few years, all the stuff, you know, like all the amps, I was buying all of those. You've seen Voxes, you've seen Blues Juniors, you've seen all kinds of stuff on my channel over the years. Eggnators and man, Laney's, Fenders, Twins, DeVilles, 2 DeVilles. I've had 2 DeVilles. And then there's the ones that I buy and then I sell, and I went, why did I sell that? And I bought it back. So I've done that with the Peavey Bandit 3 times. That's my 3rd Peavey Bandit. So that's why I plan on keeping that, because I've gotten rid of it so many times. I really just sort of, yeah, I just thought I'll keep it. Play the blues, all right. Jamal says, Epiphone Sheraton at Southport Guitars, $6.99. They're good. There's nothing wrong with those guitars at all. How many guitars do I have at the moment? or you prefer not to say? You know, I'm not 100% certain. In terms of lefties, I've got a few more that I'm actually keeping. I do plan on selling an acoustic that I'll just never use. You know, like I don't play acoustic much. I'm keeping the travel acoustic guitar. I really like that. The other one I'm not going to... I don't have space for all the stuff, right? So that's got to go. I don't really have any double ups of anything at the moment. I guess the only two Telecasters... Well, the only two doubles I have are the Tallies. You know, I've got the 52 and the Harley Benton at the moment. Whoa. There goes the mouse. I forgot I had that there. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how many I have. It's probably around 11, something like that. Which is way more than I really need, you know, and that's the thing. Like I've never really had too much of an issue selling stuff off. Oh, yeah, and the SX. Yeah, you're right. So I've still got the SX tally in there as well. So I guess that's the only real... Oh, and I've got two Strats, I guess, too. I forgot. I totally forgot about the SX guitars. They've been sitting in the cupboard. And that's not a good sign, because once things get lost... Usually I like to just fill this cupboard. It's a double door thing. If I can stack them like books in there, then I'm good. But I've actually got a couple of guitars that aren't in there right now as well. Or their cases aren't. And that's not good. That means I got too many. I'm not really playing my Les Paul much. My Tokai Les Paul or Love Rock. I love that as well. It's a really great guitar, but I'm just not playing it much right now. But I know at some point I'll really get back into playing it. And my 335, I'm not using either of them a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I would say probably 11 or so. I sold the Supro, so that blue Supro guitar that I had. I wasn't using it. I had no sort of qualms about sort of selling that, so that's gone. I really need to make some tough decisions and flip some more stuff this year as well. So I think there's 3 or 4 more guitars on there on the way. I thought they'd be here in Jan, but it looks like they might be here in February, which is fine, and it gives me time to sell stuff. I'm actually having a friend of mine come over to help me sort of list a lot of this stuff, like pedals I'm not using, you know, and just stuff I've purchased over the years I'm not using anymore. Like I've got some studio monitors I want to flip. I've got just a whole lot of pedals that I've kept because I thought, you know, one day I'll use those, and I haven't used them. I tend to sort of stick with the same stuff. So I got to keep focus on what I use live and what I use for YouTube. And if stuff doesn't fit in any of those two categories, then it goes. Yeah, so this is, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, this is just a Mexican Strat from about 3 years ago, I'm going to say. Yeah, it's great. I love this. As soon as I plugged it in, the pickups just really spoke to me, and especially on clean too. It was, you know. We'll go to a clean patch in a sec too. We've been on this burn channel for a while, so as of right now, I got lots and lots of different. You know what? I profiled the Nooks amp, the New X, the little practice amp. So we might get kind of crazy and go over to that. And that's the great thing about the Kemper, you know, you can mic up any amp and that's what you're going to get. Hey, Zach, how are you, man? Welcome. Your Tokai needs some loving. It does. You know, I always laugh about people who store stuff under the bed, but I have no choice at the moment. My place isn't big. I don't have a lot of storage capacity here. Is it hard to sell left-handed amps? Where will you be selling them? On eBay or Reverb? So I think what I'm going to do is list all the larger items, probably like amps, on eBay. Most of the pedals and all that, they'll be on my website, which hasn't had any loving for like 2 years. Just intheblues.com.au. That's where they'll be listed. I think I've got 2 items on there now. The rest of the stuff, I haven't listed anything on there in ages, and it's a really time-consuming process. So I'm going to have one of my friends come over and help me with that, and we'll just spend a day doing it, because I really need to clear out some stuff. And it's all good gear, you know, and that's part of the trap too, because I know when people buy stuff, hey, Surf the Jap Strat, thanks man, appreciate that. If you have any questions, mate, let us know. Jap Strats are awesome. Japanese guitars are, in general, really, really good. So, thanks man, I do appreciate that. yeah, I keep all this stuff because I think, you know, it's good quality gear, or, you know, I've got a compressor that's heralded as like one of the best compressors ever. I haven't used it live at all. So that's like, what am I doing with it? So, hello from Wiley, Texas. That's from Dale. Welcome, mate. That I work my Patreon page too, so anyone that's signed up for any amount gets first dibs on any of this stuff. So anything that you see come, excuse me, oh, that was horrible. Anything that you see coming up on my website will have already have been offered at a lower price on there first, right? So that's how I go about getting rid of stuff. Patreon guys, obviously they support the channel, they get first dibs. Anything else will end up on eBay. I might dual list them on eBay and on my website at the same time. So, you know, that website's been sitting there doing nothing. I thought I might as well start using it again. And eBay fees are brutal. So I think all the pedals will probably go straight to my website. But I think for things like if I sell some amps and anything larger, eBay will be the easiest way to get rid of those. T-Tone says, hey Shane, just popped in earlier, had a couple of things to do. My wallet starts to tremble when you start selling gear. When you talk about selling gear. Yeah, that's how I make ends meet, you know, like a lot of guys will keep everything they sent. I don't. It's kind of like, I just can't justify doing that. I have a new favorite drink, by the way. This stuff's great. I tell you what, I'm absolutely loving this, and this isn't a plug. If you live in Australia, try this. There's one that's a strawberry or raspberry water, fizzy water. Man, it's so good. One of my favorite pickups. I think it just depends on the guitar, really. Like, there's some that I love that are just straight up stock. Like I love these pickups in the Strat. I've played many Strats. I think the pickups in this would hold their own. I love the Joe Barton, Danny Gatton pickups in the Tele, but I wouldn't probably put them in much else. You know, P90s are great from Gibson as well. I really like those. Tokai, the pickups I got in my 335 from Tokai are awesome. Like, I'm never taking those pickups out. So just and the Briley pickups. Excuse me, Briley pickups are an Australian company. That's what I've got in my Little Crow guitar, which is on its way back. So I can't wait to check that out. Have I seen Chris Cain, Joey Delago, Kirk Fletcher helping hand? Yeah, I think I have actually. Is that the dude with the? I mean, obviously I know Chris and Kirk. I think the other guy is like a short dude, right, with a hat. Yeah, he's a monster player. He's a monster player. Would you consider a roller bridge as a good upgrade for tuning stability? I'm upgrading 2 cheap guitars and I'm not afraid to gig. Look, I would go Tone Pros, and I probably wouldn't buy the roller bridges either. If it was me, like, I would just buy a good Tone Pros Tune-O-Matic bridge and be done with it. Just find out what the pole spacing is and you can buy them easily. When I had my inexpensive, or like Chinese-made Tokai guitars, I had to change one of the bridges and I put that on there and it was so much better. So I'm not a huge fan of those roller bridges. I don't know, maybe other people can chime in the comments, but for me, I'm not a huge fan of them. I would much prefer a stock sort of, you know, Tone Pros bridge. That would be my suggestion. It's worth spending maybe a few extra bucks on something like that because it's not going to buzz or have any of these problems, and it's going to be such a good upgrade. You know, it really makes a difference. Chris Cain is the best. Funny too. Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. I got to watch him play live last year and also meet him. He's a dude. A really cool guy. Says, did you get the email with Chris Cain video that I sent you? Possibly, yeah. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure when that was. I've seen so many of his videos and I can't recall if it was via an email, if I saw yours via an email or whether I just saw it. So I can't recall. Sorry, I get so many emails. I probably have watched it though. He's awesome. Did I see Wolf Mail live? No. No, I don't know who that is. Sorry. What's up from Wally's World? How, man? We got... Ever tried guitar fetish bridges? I've used them once on a guitar that came in. But it was like already on there, so I hadn't actually replaced anything on my guitar with them. But yeah, how long have I been playing for? I sort of started taking it seriously, well, not really seriously, but I started learning blues properly just out of high school, and just a little bit before that I started to sort of understand it. But when I lived in Michigan when I was 19, and one of the guys there, Rob, showed me like blues in E, you know. I could never remember the changes and all that sort of stuff. But that was, I remember that mixed with hearing From the Cradle that year. That was the switch that, man, I want to learn blues, you know, Eric Clapton's album From the Cradle. Great album. So that was probably where I started. It was about 3 years after that I was like, oh, you know, I want to sort of put a bit more time and effort into it. And I started playing live pretty early, but yeah, it was good. Going through stuff like Matt Smith's Guide to Blues Guitar was a good video. That's a really great helping like lesson video. This might be a stupid question, but can any of you guys help me when I tune my drop B or C? It sounds terrible because of the pickups, strings, or the amp. When I tuned my string to drop B or C, it sounds terrible. In what way? Like, we need more information. I'm not too sure. It sounds like maybe the string tension's too loose. Maybe you're going too far down and it's like becoming clangy. You know, I'm not too sure. If you only tune down just a hair, it's not going to sound too bad. But I think if you go into some of these crazy tunings, like if you're a metal guy, you really need a different sort of scale length on the neck. I'm pretty sure, like, it might not work on every guitar, tuning down to C. But, yeah, that's my experience with it. There's some guitars are made for that kind of really low drop tuning, you know. And I don't think it'll work on every guitar. I don't think it's the pickups. I think it's more like the string tension won't be right. That would be my guess. But there's probably a whole lot of tech guys in the chat here, so feel free to chime in. So we've got 150 people here, guys. If you're enjoying the live stream, please give it a thumbs up. We'll see if we can get it to, well, I don't even know what it's at right now. Let me have a look. I don't often pay attention to that stuff. Let's have a look. What are we on? What are we on? We've got it at... why is my computer being so difficult? 134 people watching. 65 thumbs up. Let's see if we can get it to... Let's see if we can go 100. I'll do a Tone King. Just see if we can get it up there. That's always appreciated. Oh, I like watching it. Hey, it was 70 already. Look at that. Awesome, guys. Thanks. And ladies, I should say. 74. Oh, 6 in line. Thanks, man. What are you doing? Far out. Good job. He says, hey, dude, I've given up weed so I can get serious with lessons. Is Metal Shane a good teacher? Wow. Well, congrats on changing your lifestyle. I don't have anything against that stuff, but I guess in excess, it's probably not a good thing. I don't use it, by the way, but, you know, that's just putting that out there. Don't want to offend anybody, but yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. My suggestion for, like, I don't know any metal, right? So I'm horrible when it comes to that stuff. But my suggestion would be to find people that play the style of music you want to learn and ask them to show you that. Don't waste time playing stuff you're not interested in. It makes it a lot harder to want to come back and learn it and practice it and develop your playing. So I say this to anybody: if you want to learn blues, learn from a blues guy. If you want to play metal, learn from someone who's great at that and who can show you how to, and who can explain it in a practical sense. Because I'd almost say this as well, man, like, just to put it out there, if he's comfortable, if you're comfortable, or he is, recording the session of lessons, that's a great way of going about it too, you know. There's plenty of good, like, online tutorial stuff as well. You know, like, guys like Robert Baker are great players, and he's probably got a million great lessons on that exact sort of topic as well. You know, for the blues guys, you got Texas Blues Alley. There's a lot of really great online resources, as well as, like, millions of free lessons online too. Just straight up on YouTube, there's a lot of them. So, mate, if I knew more metal, I'd give you a free lesson now. But I don't know any. I suck at that sort of stuff. I know you're being sarcastic, by the way. But thank you. I do appreciate it. Far out. Have I ever tried Elixir strings? They came free with this month's guitar magazine here in the UK. Wow, was the magazine $45? That's what puts me off buying Elixirs. I've got them on my acoustic, on the little travel guitar, but I don't really like the way that they feel for electric guitar. That's just my personal feeling on it. They do last longer. Depending on how you play, you'll get lots of use out of it. If you're a rhythm guy, they'll last for quite some time. If you like to play lead, at least on electrics, I don't like the feeling of those coated strings. But on an acoustic, they're great. I think they sound good too. Oh, did I miss something from Terry? Well, let me go up here. What did I miss? Sorry, guys. Could be the tremolo too, not enough tension. Hey, that's from Bam Aussie. That's in relation to the weird sound of drop tuning. Oh, so someone was at my door, but I think it's someone hammering. Awesome. What do we got? Hit the thumbs up, folks. Thanks, Jamal. We're almost at 100. 99. Oh, there we go. I'm happy with that. 99's good. Who wants to be number 100? Oh, Robert Baker can play anything, man. He can play anything. He's one of those guys. He's a great musician. Serious professional. Hey, we've got Eric Clapton here. Which version do you want? It's funny when you see, like, artists' names, people have just decided, all right, I'm going to use that dude's name. That's hilarious. Unless it is your name, then that's hilarious. Oh, we've got... little bits and pieces over the years. I never really some of his Clapton's songs I know in their entirety, some I don't. Or I know the gist of it, but don't know it properly. That's I'm guilty of that as well. Like I'll kind of work it out and go, yeah, it kind of sounds right, and then I look it up and I'm like, oh, it's not right, but it's fine. I know the chord changes are generally okay. Play us some Norwegian black metal. I don't even know what that is. How cool is that? It's probably the real Clapton. Well, if he ever comes to Australia again, if it is Eric, I want to hear you play more guitar. I don't want to hear Derek Trucks play all night. He's as great as he is. I paid $400 to see you play, and I didn't see it. So it was highly disappointing. It was one of the biggest letdowns of my musical career. And I love Eric Clapton's stuff, you know, but yeah, that was I kind of felt a bit robbed. And sitting right in front of Doyle Bramall yawning all night too. But I guess, you know, these guys do travel a lot. It was just one of those things. I felt a little bit robbed. It's $400. Second row. Just off from the center. And Eric maybe played, I don't know, less than a quarter of the night. You know, and it's funny because he's done shows where he does trio stuff and he's killing it. So, yeah, I just feel like he needs to play more guitar. People want to hear him play. And I think he's starting to do that a bit more now. Like, he's come back to doing more solos, whereas the other guys, which are great musos, man. Like, I love both, especially, you know, Derek Trucks is phenomenal talent, great player, but, you know, people are paying to see Eric play. Even if he feels like he's not as good as he was, it's still Eric, man. He's a great singer. Yeah, no, this was years ago, Jade. This wasn't now. Like, this was a long time ago. He's playing more now than the show that I saw him in, you know, so... yeah, look, there might have been some issues like that too. Look, you know, it's just disappointing. You wait years to go see somebody and, you know, when you don't hear him play a lot, it's kind of disappointing, especially if it's $400, you know, so... yeah, so there were two of us. We paid $800. It was an expensive lesson. And then I saw Buddy Guy the week later, who's older than Eric, I think, and it was just amazing. But it's all good. It's all good. Look, it's funny, thinking back and listening to the show again, because we got the desk recording, it wasn't a bad show. It just wasn't the show I thought it was going to be as well. So I was disappointed on a couple of different levels. I really thought I'd hear more guitar songs. And they were good tunes, but they didn't have a lot of... You know, there's only a handful of songs that really featured Eric, and I was a little disappointed in that. But, you know, hey, Cheddar, welcome, man. Derek Trucks rules, and so does Susan Tedeschi. Yeah, she's great. They're probably the power couple, you know, in the blues roots kind of scene. I mean, Derek Trucks is great. Like I've got probably not all of their albums, but a lot of his albums. And yeah, I love that music, you know, so that does not take away from how great of a musician he is. And I love all of their music. And Clapton's still one of my favorite players, but yeah, back then, man, like $400 was a lot of money to walk out unhappy, and I wasn't the only one. Doyle Bramall, yeah, look, some of his stuff's great too. I think they were probably coming up to the end of their tour. They were probably tired. They were probably all that sort of stuff, you know, like just over it. It felt like they were over it. Rick was at that show too, and I didn't know that at the time. We spoke about it the other day, and he was just like, he didn't enjoy it either. So it was just like basically a few people felt like no one wanted to be there. That was the vibe. You know, but you get that. That's part of the live show. Not everything's going to go like it does on the DVD. Made Eric Clapton leave. Eric was easily my #1 influence on guitar. You know, him and Albert King. Those two were the guys. So thanks again, Cheddar. Appreciate that, man. That's cool. What was I going to say? Yeah, so, you know, it's just one of those things. Not everything. It was the hype. You know, I once flew to... One year I flew overseas. I thought he was playing in that area, and I said to my friend, whenever we get to see him, and this was back in 2001, I said, "Oh, we'll do it. I'll get you tickets. We'll go." And he ended up doing something else at that time, like he was doing like the Queen's birthday or something back home. So there wasn't a show, and I was like, "Oh, damn!" Like I was really spewing about that, but. So there was a lot of build up to the hype for me. It was years of wanting to see him and not being able to, and then not being in the right spot at the right time. So I saw Clapton on his first tour after kicking drugs in the 80s. It was, yeah. Well, that's it. I was, you know, says it was disappointing. Look, there were guys at the show that loved it, right? It's just that most of the good musos that I knew that were there weren't into it, but everyone else was loving it. So. You know, it goes to show that if you're a muso, you listen to stuff differently than you would if you're just a fan of somebody's music. And I think I need to sort of let go of that, wanting to really just watch him play and hear it in person. And there wasn't enough of that, you know. And that's... You can look it up. It was the 2007 show in Rod Laver Arena, maybe, in Melbourne, Australia. There'll be plenty of video clips online from that. Anyway, it's enough of that. I've seen a lot of his shows since, and the video clips I've seen are great. So yeah, the stuff he did with JJ Cale was great. There was a show, you know, there's plenty of great live shows. It was just the one I saw wasn't very good. That's about enough of that. But you get that? Yeah, it just depends on the night. Depends on the vibe, the mood of everybody. That chord. Sing Shane, sing the blues. Oh man, I don't often do like solo vocal and guitar stuff. A lot of the stuff I play kind of feels like it needs a band. Most of my riffs are kind of like a lot of them are staccato sort of grooves, like. When looking at Squiers online, how can you tell the difference between the Affinity, Bullet, or Classic Vibes? The Classic Vibes are usually like a much higher gloss guitar. So you'll see not only will the finish on the body look better, but if you turn the back of the guitar over, even if it's online, they might have photos. It will look more like this. It'll have, you know, a really nice gloss finish. It may have a darker tint if you're talking about the Strats. It'll be like a dark, I don't even know what kind of color you'd say it is. Maybe a brown, like a really dark lacquer tint. A lot of the inexpensive Squiers will have like what looks like this, but it'll be dry. It'll basically be a dry finish. It may have a little bit of satin on there, but a lot of the time they're just very like an unfinished kind of look. That's the easiest way. And I don't know if they all say it or not, but the classic vibes usually say by Fender on them as well. I don't know if every Squier says that. Another way to check or tell too is the color of the logo. So on the classic vibes, it'll generally not be solid black. It'll have some other kind of color. Usually the cheaper Squiers will, on the most part, will either be plain black with no outline, or, you know, no color around the actual headstock, or it'll be like a reddish kind of color. Zex coil pickups. I'm not sure if that was a question or not, but yeah. So for me, I think Zex coils work best in Strats. I think they're a good Strat pickup. I don't really feel like they'd be a better pickup in a Tele for me than the Bardens. I think the Bardens are the way to go. I said that a lot of times. I think the Strats. I probably wouldn't put a set of Joe Barden pickups in a Strat. I don't think they're kind of. They sound very Stratty, but they have more in Teles. They work great, but Zex coil pickups definitely the way to go for the Strat. What have we got? Thinking about picking up a Harley Benton TE52, worth getting. Watch your videos on them. Would be my first Tele style guitar. Absolutely. Yeah, if they were junk, I would tell you. I don't get paid to promote those videos or anything. So, the pros and cons I listed on those videos are still 100% accurate. So, I think they're probably... You know what? The more I think about it, the more I think they're probably a nicer guitar in the hand than the SX. Just because of the neck shape for me personally. But they're still on par. Just in terms of like their build quality and how they feel and the pickup. The pickups are great. You know, like I may have mentioned this on another stream. When I bought my 52 Fender, the pickups in there, I didn't really like at all. And obviously, I changed them out. The Harley Benton pickups are awesome. They handle the gain fine. I've used it live a few times already. I think they're really good guitars. If they weren't, I'd say so. There'd be no reason for me to, you know, say good things about them for no reason. So, yeah. I think for a first Telecaster, it may be the best way to go because they're easy to find, right? The only thing I would suggest is with TE52s, if you use the modern C-necks like on a Strat, odds are you're gonna have to. You'll either love it or you won't, but they have a fatter neck. For me, I love that. I think it just feels good. David Allen pickups, yeah, I've had a couple sets of those as well. You know, the D Allens aren't too bad. I tried their Johnny Highland pickups. I don't know. The Blades, they've been re-released as the Blades, but yeah, look, they were okay. I liked them because I went out and I spent $300 on them. But after that, I took them out pretty soon. I just feel like they're not a very Stratty sounding pickup either. Where are your Eric Clapton posters? I don't see them in the back. Yeah, I think I took it down. I think I took it down like the last poster change I did. I had a cream one and it was... I could be wrong, but it might have been a glossy one. So I think I pulled that down actually. I know I took it down because I didn't like... I'm not much of a cream fan, believe it or not. I much prefer Clapton's solo stuff, which will aggravate everybody. But yeah, I prefer that over a lot of the cream stuff. Like From the Cradle, you know, that sort of blues era for me was it. So I need to find a poster for that, actually. That would be a really good addition. The cream poster, I just got sick of seeing it, so I took it down. I think Tommy Castro's now been replaced. He's there now. So it was. Oh, actually, I think Mark Knopfler's taken the place of that poster. I had it there, so that's where it was. What do I think about vintage 30s with Marshall amp heads? Look, vintage 30s are really popular speakers. I kind of feel like they sound best with two of them. I've had a couple of amps with a single vintage 30. I had a SuperSonic 60. I had a Yorkville Trainer YCV 50. Or B50 actually was the blue amp. And I don't necessarily like the sound of vintage 30s a lot, but they sound great for higher gain stuff. The clean tones, they're pretty punchy speakers, but they don't, there's not a niceness to them, you know, like they've just, like, they've cut the mix well, but they don't necessarily sound that good on their own. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But with Marshalls, they're great. If you can stack a couple of them together, you're going to get a big sound. I think they work best in more than just one. If you've got a 2x12 or a 4, a vintage 30s are great. I mean, they've been used for years, they've been recorded for years, all that kind of stuff. Am I still digging my DSL 40? Absolutely. I love that amp. They're my two favorites right now, the Marshall and the Fender, hands down. You know, for different types of sounds, it's as good as it gets. For what I like, anyway. That's the thing. And since I put the Tonka speaker in the Marshall, it's given it a pretty great vibe. Clapton playing Soldano amps late 80s and 90s was his best playing since the 60s. I agree. I reckon his best playing is from the cradle. For me personally, what I like, that's my favorite stuff. It's all subjective. I mean, he could rip back in the day, but you know, I don't really like that approach. And that's sort of why, you know, certain guys I can't listen to a lot of because it's just a bit much. I like the really nice phrasing and the vibrato and the bends, you know, all that sort of. You know, that sort of stuff is what I got from Clapton. What delay pedals do I have on my board? So I've got two boards. It's either I'm using the Citek Serena delay pedal, and my other one that I was using up until the other day was the Chicalis Audio Works one, what's it called, the Tille. So they're the two that I kind of have at any one time. I'll either, if I'm using the Marshall, I just take the Citek one with me and just use that in the effects loop. If I take my pedal board, I've had the Chicalis Audio Works one on there for a little while, but I think I need to give that a bit of a spray. There's an issue with when I turn some of the pots, I'm getting a weird noise. So I think I need to just clean the pots. But yeah, it's a great pedal as well. If you like the analog delay, it's a good choice. Another one that I've started using a little bit, I did a pedal demo of a Jaquez, like a Marshall in a box kind of pedal. I've got one of their delays at the moment, which is awesome. So it's dead quiet. It reminds me a lot of the Maxon, which is another great choice too. So the Maxon AD10, I think it's called, is a really great delay. Nice and simple as well. But yeah, the ones that I'm using, the Citek and the Chicalis Audio Works one, are the two that I use the most. Did I ever try an American sounding warehouse speaker? I tried the ET65. I bought one of those. And that's probably not an American sounding warehouse speaker, no. I don't know, man. I'm not sort of sold on a lot of the warehouse design speakers. I just feel like they just don't have enough attitude for me. I really like loud, high headroom speakers, and for what I like, I'm yet to find one of those that I go, oh wow, that's the sound. You know, I know a lot of people promote them, but or are into them or whatever you want to say, but I'm yet to. I was never more disappointed almost than when I bought one of those. It was the first time I went, oh man, I'm putting my what do you call it, my bloody vintage 30 back in my amp. That's it. For me, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get rid of the vintage 30. I put this in and I went, Oh, it's not as loud. It lost all of its attack. There's not enough top end. All that sort of stuff. I was like, and there's too much lows. And I wanted that sort of 2-rock-ish kind of sound, but that wasn't it either. But this was a number of years ago now, so they probably got a whole lot more speakers that are probably worth checking out. For me, I just trust Eminence speakers because every time I've bought one, I've never been dissatisfied. That's a really good way to go about it. And the great thing about, and I'm not sponsored by any of these guys, right? But the great thing about Eminence is they make great videos. They have a great website where you can listen to all of the stuff in context to the music that you like, and then you can compare them, and then that's an easy decision. When I get onto other websites, I'm like, I need more information. Like this isn't enough. And I find like some of the headroom issues are really prominent, at least with my old ET65. But if you can recommend a speaker from them that's got that high headroom sort of American voice sound, I'll definitely give it a go. No doubt about that at all. Hey Jojo, welcome mate. Nick says, question about the PRS, does it growl like a Les Paul? Look, they make stuff that sounds a lot like a Les Paul to some extent, but they're a different guitar, you know. They shouldn't really be compared. Because I'm not grabbing it, by the way, I'm grabbing this. Alright, looks like I'm grabbing the PRS. I sort of feel like I made the mistake of thinking they're going to be like a Strat mixed with a Les Paul or something like that. They kind of just got their own sound. That's what it comes down to. They do make a couple of models that are obviously heavily inspired by Les Paul, but they do sound different as well. I know Cheddar's got one, I'm pretty sure. He's in the chat here, but I just sort of see PRS guitars as their own thing. You know, you got Fender, you got Gibson, then you got PRS. That's kind of like how they've sort of placed themselves in the... See, that to me is not a big fat humbucker sound at all. It's got a lot of... It's got more of a chimey pickup sound. I feel relieved now that's not the real Eric Clapton after I gave him a serve for spending $800 between two of us on tickets. The easiest guitar I have to play. Everything about this is just great. So I don't know. I don't think it sounds anything like my Les Paul. It sounds almost the polar opposite in terms of chime, and there's not the same amount of sort of oomph in the sound either. It's a different kind of sound. Any thoughts on the Line 6 240 HC head? I don't know that off the top of my head, mate. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. They make some stuff that's kind of like Valve and like a digital hybrid kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't really know a lot about that sort of stuff. Sorry. I modded my PRS, same one, to neck parallel rather than both split. Wonderful. Hey, cool. There you go. Yeah, I've just left this stock. I haven't done anything to it in the end. I was just happy with it. You know, thought about changing the pots and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't really need to. I gave it a spray, and that's what helped. Some people have complained about like the tuning stability is not good on these. I have no problems. I mean, I took this straight out of the gig bag when we first started. I gave it a quick tune. That was it. The tuners were kind of loose when they turned up in terms of the pegs, so I just put a screwdriver in there and did a little bit of a tighten. That's it. Yeah, I really like this thing. I'm not going to buy a more expensive PRS. I don't think it's going to sound any different for the way I play. This is just one of those things where, like I've learnt not to overspend on stuff. I'm not going to sound any better on a $10,000 PRS than I will on this. It's not going to make any difference to my sound. It might be cool to own, but it's not going to change the way I sound, or it's not going to make me play any better. This plays great. It plays better than some of my other guitars, which are more expensive. So and it sounds great. I like it anyway. Hi everyone, just a question to you all. How long are the cables from your pedal board to your amplifier backline for stage? Well, it just depends on what you need, man. There's no right or wrong. I guess if you're running a lot of cable, you probably want a buffer somewhere, you know, in your signal chain. If you've got a tube screamer, that's already got a buffer or a clon. But yeah, that will help sort of keep the top end of your tone there. But the one thing everybody forgets to say about that is, right, you can go buy a buffer or you can just turn your treble up. Realistically, that will work too. So just buy what you need. I don't think you need, like, you know, lots of extra meters or feet of cable than what's required for that gig. So I got cables of all lengths, just depending on the gig and how close I know I'll be standing to the amp. If I'm standing close to the amp, I'm not going to bring a 30 foot or 10 meter cable with me. I'm going to bring the short one, the 2 meter one. It's like 6 feet. So, you know, depending on the gig is what I bring. Opened up the slots on the PRS nut and it did wonders for the tuning. Okay, cool. I haven't had any issues with it at all. Since I just tightened the tuning pegs and restrung it, it was great. How did Dr. Ric and I get together? We met at a blues jam. Well, the first time I met him, actually, I've got it on video. He turned up to this little gig. It's one of the first places I was playing live at that particular time, and he turned up with a Fender Bassman 4x12. And I remember because he had his work stuff on. He had a white shirt and he looked really professional. I didn't know who he was, and I heard him play. I was like, man, this guy's great. But I didn't really get to know him until like years after that. I think I was going to the blues jam and I was friends with a mutual friend of his, and I was doing gigs at that particular time, and we started to sort of see each other at the jam from time to time. It wasn't that often. And like my friend Brian couldn't do some gigs, and I was like, oh man, like he goes, oh, I'll give Rick a call, you know, see if he's interested. So I gave him a call, and that's how that started. I think we've become better friends over the years. Initially, I think it was more like we just played, and then, you know, now we hang out. It's cool. Obviously, he's on the channel, and we've been overseas together and stuff. So he's a great dude. He's a great guy. All right, how long have we been going here, guys? What's the damage? It feels like we might have clicked over. Let me. Oh wow! All right, so we'll go another 15 minutes, guys. I didn't realize we've already been going an hour and 45 minutes. Holy crap! I love my PRS 594. I think yeah, there we go, 594. I think that's the PRS style one. Sorry, the 594 is did I say PRS style one? I meant to say the Les Paul style one. I don't know what I just said. Let me just click over here. I don't speak Spanish. Sorry, Renaf. Only a little. I know how to say hello. I did learn it for a little while, actually, but I'm just not very good at it. Is my video frozen? Is it still working all right? Time flies when you're having fun. Have you changed the strap buttons on the PRS? No. So these are still the same ones that were on there. When I did the XTR strap locks thing, I did have them on there. It might just be my preview of the stream has got a spinning circle, but it seems like it's okay. Maybe it's just my preview window here. But I put the original ones back on, and you're going to see what kind of strap locks I'm using coming up pretty soon. And they're dirt cheap. It's awesome. Hey Shane, have you used the X5 wireless guitar system much lately, and what are your thoughts on it, and how long do you get before it goes out of charge? It lasts for several hours. I don't think I've only ever charged it up maybe one other time since I've had it. I'm probably going to recommend don't buy it. Tone King mentioned this in his best and worst of 2018 as well. He said his one stopped working, right? You could see I had it, it's on the floor here. Basically, what he said was, after a little while, if that moves, much like if your cable moves and you still get signal, right? You still got signal. With the X5, it works fine even if you knock it a few times, but if it moves a little bit, you lose connection to the receiver. And this is just something that happened to me about, I don't know, maybe late December. It was right after I shot that best and the worst video, because it had been working fine. But in my review, I said, I don't know how much I trust this jack, right? Like I said that in the video. It worked, but it just felt a little flimsy, and it's almost like the actual jack itself. So this bit has shrunk. I don't know if shrunk's the right word or whether it's bent slightly or something. It doesn't look any different, but it's like it was fine on all of my guitars, and now it's not. And I was using it on demos, on videos, because I like the wireless freedom, but there's times now where it kind of cuts out. So, you kind of run the risk of it not working. And he mentioned this in his video, and I said to him, look, I mentioned that I don't trust the jack, but it was fine. And that's how I have to go by, like my experience with it. And I'd been using it for a little while before that. But right now, I kind of I can't resell it. It doesn't work properly. And I can't use it because it doesn't work properly. So what do I do with it? I don't know. So I'm going to have a hard time recommending that right now. So if you had your heart set on that, I apologize. But you could take a chance on it. But being that mine's failed maybe 8 weeks after I got it, and I'd probably used it a handful of times, and Tone King's went even sooner, I don't know, man. I'm not too sure. The problem when you review stuff, and I do a tech channel, right? So my approach to that is slightly different now. I'm reviewing stuff that I've had for months, as opposed to reviewing something that I've had for a couple of weeks. There's certain times where stuff will come in and I'll use it for a month before it'll actually make it to the channel. And that was one of those things. I'd been using it for probably 3 weeks before I actually did the review. Maybe a month, but 3 weeks I'd say. But it feels like that wasn't enough time. Like it wasn't enough time to know that they would fail. And I took it out and I played it live a few times and there was no problems. But now I use it at home and I've got problems. My only other explanation for this might be that I'm running two 2.4 gigahertz digital and 5 gigahertz digital signal things in this room. I've got 2 modems, right? So I don't know if that's causing the problems. I need to kind of double check this stuff. So, but it feels like if you just move the connection, you lose signal, or if you move the unit. Now, if it's on a Strat, it's kind of like locked in. But if you're using it on a guitar like this, where the jack's on the bottom, it kind of moves around, and that's where you lose signal. So just be cautious of that. Hey, 6 in line, man. What are you doing? Thanks, dude. Just noticed the YouTube button. Kudos. The YouTube button. Oh, the thanks, man. Didn't you use that earlier? Didn't you already do this? Hang on, let me go back up here. Am I losing my mind, or didn't you already use the super chat? Thanks, man. Far out. How do I check on here? Here we go. Yeah, you already did, man. We're like, what are you doing? Thanks, mate. Far out, guys. Thanks. I do appreciate it. You don't have to keep using the super chat, guys, but, you know, that's awesome. Thank you. You know what I might have to do? I put the super chat towards getting another play button. It took a fall and it's damaged. I got a quote on getting another one out, and it's not cheap. I'm sort of on the fence whether I just keep it in its relic state or whether I end up having to get another one sent out. So they won't send another one for free, obviously, which kind of sucks. But Jack Daniels, thanks for the tip, man. Check out a app for the phone called Wi-Fi Analyzer. See how many of your neighbors' networks you can see in the room. Yeah, look, I'm a bit of a nerd with that sort of stuff, so I'll jump on that and give it a go. Buying my way back. Nah, man, it's all good. Thanks so much, mate. I don't even know what that's in relation to. You haven't done anything wrong, man. At least nothing that I've seen. We need more pub rock bands back. Not much of it going on in the scene in Sydney. What do you think? Yeah, look, there's quite a number of cover bands here that do all the pub rock stuff, but it's probably harder to find just in general. Like loud rock and roll music, you know, as Melbourne expands, and probably the same with Sydney. More residential people complain about living next to a pub, even though the pub was there 50 years before they moved in. So yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing. I just think there's more things to do now than there might have been back in the day, and that's not necessarily a good thing. People have more options, you know. I think part of the reason I think a lot of people don't go to gigs is these days it's a bit of a hassle, and I don't mean just getting to the gig, but you know, you got to drive, you got to find parking. That can be a pain depending on where the gig is. There's a lot of things that will stop people from going out in that sort of regards, unless they're catching public transport, you know. But yeah. Last time you waxed lyrical about your IT prowess, you went offline. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So my streaming modem it's not hardwired in like it used to be. So I get better upload speed, but it's all wireless. So there can be dropouts. But so far so good. 2 hours today. It doesn't look like it's glitched. Now that I've said that, it'll glitch. I'll tell you what, we've been listening to that SuperSonic reverb and delay patch. Let's go over to the Marshall. We'll see how this sounds now. This isn't obviously as high again. So that's the Tonka. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night. I'm going to probably wrap it up in a minute anyway, because we've been going for ages. So, yeah. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. If you do have any last-minute questions, feel free to ask. And I'll see if we can get through a couple more. I'm just going to reload this. All right. Cool. All right, so we've got about 4 minutes. I'll just see if anyone wants any more, if anyone has any last questions here, but I think we're pretty much done. Been hanging out for nearly 2 hours, so thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks to everybody for the super chats as well. Far out. It's yeah, Eric Clapton, thanks for hanging out with us tonight as well. I'll do a tribute to what's another one of his songs? Best guitar channel on YouTube and my longest subscription. Cheers, Shane. Hey, thanks, Hugh. Thanks so much, mate. Appreciate that. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks for being a part of the channel for so long. We're it's pretty lucky that, you know, this channel. We've had a lot of guys like Hutch is here as well. He's been on the channel since, you know, back in the day as well. As I'm sure a lot of people have as well. But yeah, it's definitely names I've seen since the early days. And yeah, thank you so much. How can you not like Cream? Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think the bass playing kind of drives me nuts. It's just too busy. It's not something and yeah, there's a few things about it I don't like, but yeah, they've got some good songs. William says, I just joined, hope you can see my question. Do you think you'll review the Squier Jazzmaster? Oh, look, I'd like to check it out. I'd like to see if it's any different to something like this guy over here. From Artist Guitars, it might be an interesting video, so I'll see what we can do. Jamal never sleeps. I think you might be right there, Hutch. Let's crank the gain up for a minute. Let's try this. How's it go? Man, what a tone. Keep it up. I enjoy watching your channel. Very informative. Thanks, mate. Thanks from Joe. Ed, are you going to check out the Marshall Studio amps? I don't know much about those, actually. I'll need to check them out. I pretty much avoided most of the NAMM stuff. This week I'll catch up on it. I'm sure someone will do a recap. And maybe Tone King will do one or something, and I'll watch his video. But yeah, I didn't watch much of it, so I need to kind of catch up on some of this stuff. If there's some interesting stuff to try and I can do it, I will. My 4-year-old grandson came to borrow my ukulele after seeing you on YouTube. Hey, thanks, Dennis. That's cool, man. Awesome stuff. Brad says, do I still run the DSL 40 through the 2x12? That wasn't the intention of buying it. It was actually for my 20-watt heads and 5-watt heads and all of those things like that. It wasn't actually for taking out to the gig with the Marshall. I do plan on maybe trying that at some point, but the amp is so loud on its own that it doesn't really need any more speakers. I get asked to turn down with just the amp, so you know you're onto a winner. I think, you know, putting that Tonka speaker in there actually made the amp even louder. We got Gary from Tasmania. Thanks for the live stream. Great stuff. Hey, you're welcome, man. Thanks for hanging out. Tasmania is a beautiful, beautiful part of the world too. I've been to Launceston a number of times over the years. All right, it looks like we might be done. Peavey Viper VIP3. I haven't tried one in person. There's a Peavey Viper at one of the second-hand shops. I was kind of like, oh, do I take a chance on it? Can't believe I've been out of tune. That's better. Straight to the note. 69 says Tassie has internet now. Yeah, finally. Thoughts on the Orange CR120H? I haven't tried that particular one. I really like their 30 watt amp. I think is a really great combo. I don't recall. Oh, I don't think I've ever played that particular 120 watt head. I don't think I've tried that one. I've seen them before. I know Sky Music here locally to me has a lot of those amps, but we never really got a chance to test. Well, we didn't choose to test them for whatever reason, but they're surprisingly good, some of those Orange amps, no doubt about it. Alright guys, we'll rock on. Have a good day. It's or evening. It's now the 2-hour mark, so we're going to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for hanging out. It was good fun today, and Rick and I will be doing like a hangout stream on Sunday around the same time, just having a chat, probably talking about gear and music and taking some Q&A and whatever else. So yeah, Rick sort of wants to, he asked me if we could do a live stream again. I said, yeah man, whenever you're free. So him and I will be not making some noise, but we'll be on live again coming up. So if you have any questions for Rick, or you want to ask him anything medical related, no, I'm only kidding. Yeah, jump on, because he knows a lot about this kind of stuff as well, and he's been a professional guitar player as well, so he knows a lot about this stuff. All right, guys, rock on. Have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next. Catch you soon. I've got a couple of pretty cool videos coming up too, so keep in touch with the channel's feed and all that kind of stuff. A few people are saying that they sometimes don't get notified of the videos when they go up, so just try unclicking the bell and clicking it again if that's what if you want to be notified like that. It seems like there's like a 50% strike rate on people being notified of content and live streams. So if you want to try that again, it might sort of bump it back up in the in the results as new videos come out. But anyway, guys, thanks again, and I will catch you soon. See ya.